These are people who are HCI researchers, mobile computing researchers, designers, creative arts team. And we started thinking about what would the modern library be like with ebooks. We started with sort of a modest goal. Google has this tradition of what I call Google furniture. Often there are pieces that are created by Googlers that are in the environment that are sort of fun. There's this Lego wall down at the other end. There's a Ferris wheel. There's some artwork, all sorts of crazy stuff. So we were sort of asking the question, well, Google furniture for the library that has the modest goal of generating some fun, stimulating discussion, encouraging experimentation. And we were creating a library installation around that. Now, since some of us have research backgrounds, we thought, here's a time for a methodology. In HCI, there's something called technology probes. This is an installation or deployment of technology that tries to bring out, three goals in three areas. One is understanding the needs of users in real-world settings. The other is understanding the engineering aspects and issues of a new technology or a technology in new situations. And the other is a design goal of trying to inspire users and researchers to think about new technologies or existing technologies in new situations. So we wanted to create this library installation with that in mind. Before I actually show you what we did, I want to take sort of a trip down memory lane and talk about libraries in transition. So it sounds like pigs in space, but it's basically the observation that libraries have changed a lot in the last 30 years. And I was asking Peter today whether this audience is evenly divided between people who actually had card catalogs when they were at university and those who didn't. You didn't have
Show
card
hands.
What's right? In the old days,
I have no idea what a card catalog is. It's fine.
Peter and I remember, and Alfred also, there were rows and rows of these in our libraries. They took up an enormous amount of space. And the process of finding your books was very labor intensive. Searching was you would physically go to the card catalog, find this, and write it down on a piece of paper. And of course, the librarians, their job was to keep this up to date, accurate, error-free, and all that. Then obviously came the transition to the digital card catalog, and I think in almost every respect, it was a major advance. So search was very much easier. Users could do quick searches, and the librarians themselves had a much easier way of keeping this up to date. They could share the bibliographic records across libraries and across library systems. And you could ask the question, well, was there any drawbacks of this transition from the paper to the digital? We often ask that. And I searched the web, and I found one criticism was that you could no longer see these little notes that people left on the library cards, on these card catalogs. This one, the most boring book ever written, so you probably don't want to take the effort of going up to the stacks to find that book. The other thing that you couldn't see with the digital form is the wear and tear on the cards. You could actually use these cards to find which were the popular books, and as you were sort of thumbing through the card catalog, it was a little bit of an indication. I would say those are somewhat minor issues. But the next major transition that we're looking at in the realm of libraries is the move from paper books to electronic books to digital books. So this is sort of the messy world of books, the world of the past. And now searching and finding and reading is sort of a much cleaner kind of experience. You can go to Amazon, You can go to books.google.com. You can not only search and find the bibliographic records from the card catalog, but you can actually search the whole text of many books and find the information and the knowledge that's inside the books. And this is certainly a much more efficient way. Many people don't even visit libraries anymore, I think. Jason doesn't. You can do all of your research from your home. So moreover, the introduction of tablet computers and ebooks means that you can now read your content anywhere. You can carry hundreds or thousands of books, and if it isn't on this device, you could download it at any time. So this is sort of the transition that we're in the middle of, from paper books to digital books. And we're asking the question, well, is there anything that we're leaving behind? Is there anything, that's going to change? What's going to happen to these rows and rows and rows of books that we have in our libraries, these card catalogs? Are they just going to disappear, like the card catalogs are disappearing? What's going to happen to these beautiful architectural spaces? I think this is the National Library in France. This space obviously built to store books, built to use books. Is this going to become a museum for old books, or is it going to become something else? And this is I think this is the Boston Public Library, the Copley Library. And we ask, are these libraries going to become a place where people just go to use their laptop computers and their ebooks? If you look at this picture, everybody is using a laptop computer. They're ignoring the books on the shelves as decoration. So this is an interesting question for libraries, but it's also a question for bookstores. It's a question for the books that we have on our shelves at home as well. What's going to happen to all of these collections of books? So we asked the question, there's this transition from paper books to digital books. There's this transformation that's going to happen in these collections. Are we going to miss anything as those start disappearing? So I think one of the big things that people like about large collections of books on shelves is the browsing and the serendipitous discovery that you have. Also, books are artifacts for discussion. You can hold them up. If you ever go into a bookstore and talk to a salesperson there, they'll hand you books and you'll have discussions about them. Obviously, you can take books away and you can share them. So these are, I would say, aspects of interacting with books on bookshelves and in collections that maybe we'll miss. And it's part of the discussion that we should be having now before they all disappear. So this then is what we're doing in these, in our modern digital library, is trying to create a point of discussion, a technology deployment where we can experiment with some of these questions and look ahead and ask, what will we be missing and where do we want to go? So with that, I'll hand it over to Doug Fritz, who's going to give you a preview of
a little
demo.
preview. First I'll give a little bit of a shout out to the rest of the other developers on the Google Data Arts team in the Creative Lab, George Brower and John Brandell, under Aaron Copeland are over there if you want to talk to them more. We'll all be upstairs to give you guys the actual demo. But if I switch over for a second. What's nice is this entire project is running in Google Chrome. So all of those displays that you saw there, we can just go around as this sort of infinite scroll, this infinite space of books that allows you to move and pick a different category, jump into an area, and it runs obviously faster up there. But So this kind of idea of browsing, of having this contextual space to display all these books and actually have a place for them to live, I think something that people miss a lot with everything on their Kindle device, as we talk about everything moving to that small form factor where you can take 1,000 with you, is just that act of looking at a bookshelf, of like just browsing it, whether it's this one that's meant for the Google installation here, or if this was even in your own home, like being able to take this, since it's just deployable with WebGL, have this in your home. You have this idea of social signaling a lot, that when I walk into someone's home, I can see, oh, you were just reading this. Oh, you had algorithms like 256. Oh, we should talk about that. But there's a lot to be said of that sort of serendipity that comes from something that's kind of an ambient display in the background. Now, if you go through this, it's all multi-touch. You just have to tap a book. You can pull that up. That book comes in. So that's the Google backend API. Pull up a book and move. Oh, we don't want to read that. Let's read that. Art of Choosing. There we go. Science. Okay. So you can just go tap a book open, have your synopsis, the categories, little background, and then this idea of QR codes as well as NFC. So you have NFC now on a lot of mobile devices like the Nexus S, as well as being able to just go up to one of these books and take it with you instantly. So upstairs, you'll see that we've got this demo set up that you can actually grab. I think one of the interesting points of that is looking at this kind of human scale when these are really large. They're 9, 30, 40-inch displays that are actually make this feel very physical in the space. But then you have this public-private issue where you have this public space. You don't want to read a book there on a giant wall. So being able to take that with you and then go to your, like, in the corner of the library and actually read that content, dive into it a little bit more. I think there's a lot of potential here for some of the things that people go to immediately, like sharing, or this idea is, I go to this book, I'm looking at this, you should totally read this. And being able to point to that person and then in that space, share in a more fluid way, that I can just take it with you on my phone, send it to you. Same thing, now that these phones have all voice search, just send that instant on your phone, and then you can pull it up here. So all of the machines have two-way communication with phones as well as with each other. So there's a signaling system across all the browsers. So as Roy or Bill or somebody goes up to that phone and they search for something that they wanted to share with you, they can bring it up here so you can have a discussion and see other things that are related to it or similar. I mean, I think the big thing here is it's a probe. It's just an idea that we wanted to get out there. We put it together in a couple of months to try and see how that changes the space. Is this something that people are actually going to use? That they are excited to like come up and actually play with it? It was really important for us to make this animation and this idea of kind of moving through this space fun and playful. I think that often gets overlooked as an important element of the success of these sorts of interfaces, that you want to continue to browse. Browsing is about an activity that's kind of asks you to do the next thing over and over again. And I think you lose a lot of that in kind of a search that has this element of efficiency. By being so great at search and finding exactly what you thought you meant to find, you lose all the things that were right next to it. And I think the next thing for us is really kind of opening this up as more of a 20% thing and allowing other people to add their ideas to what this could be. I think the idea of different ways of sorting this dynamically, as like if I can take my bookshelf more in a digital form and bring it to somebody else's, how do those intersect? What are something that we can find those connections between different interfaces or different bookshelves? But I think more than any of this, let's let the interface speak for itself, and we'll go up to the library and people can actually play with it, which is much more fun. Yeah.
Do all the books have a fixed location, or can we do sub-libraries? Like,
so, yeah, right now, thanks OSX. Right now, everything is in a fixed space, And I think that that's something interesting to think about. Is one of the nice things about being in a fixed space is humans have really good spatial memory. So like I put this there, I know that this is over here. Like we're really good at that sort of thing. And what's nice about this is I always know which direction I need to scroll in to find my thing. But having said that, there's this ability to kind of just filter is awesome. Like if I can walk into a physical library and have the whole library to collapse to just the section I want, I think that's really powerful. And I think that that's where we want to go with something like this in the future, but it's not in there now.
The flip of that is, a book might be categorized in multiple places.
Right.
So do you do that?
Right now, if it's in multiple categories, the book is in multiple places, which is different than a library, and helps because you're already there. You want to be able to put things in multiple circles, and you can't do that with a physical object.
So you used the term circles, and I thought that was very appropriate. Cases where I would like very much if my friends or
Exactly.
ones in my circles, what are my friends reading?
Yeah. I think reading is such a social thing. I think it's such a socially ingrained thing, like that sharing of knowledge. And now that we have more and more of these social APIs, how can you make use of that to kind of share that information is really exciting. I think that, but having like, you don't just want a list of, oh, read this. I think like that you can have something a little bit more engaging is really exciting, I think, at least for us. Oh, yeah.
What is your business model? Is it going to be for free, or how do you envision it?
The business model is it's upstairs on the 5th floor.
Let me make a comment on that. I'll take that one as the executive in the room on this one. Hey, look, we wanted to do something that was for the library, and we wanted to do something for you. So we actually wanted to do something brand new for this faculty summit. So this is actually brand new. It's never been shown before. We're not doing a press release on it because, frankly, we don't think it's quite ready, but we'd like to show you because we're proud of it. We think there's a ton to do on it, and that's part of the thing. When we get up and say we've done all this stuff and here's what it is, we know all the answers. In a way, it's boring to you guys because you want to contribute. Here, we're not done. Yeah. So tell us your ideas, talk about it, think about it, work on it yourself. Jeanette, I think search is part of this, right? I'm a believer in search as well. And I agree with the spatial location thing is we want to browse and do search and make it beautiful and have it be instantaneous. And maybe it'll be, on your television someday. Who knows? So I think there's a lot of opportunities. Let's go look at it.
I agree. That's the best part.